Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Uncensored Critic podcast. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. It means the world to me. Thank you very, very much. And today we welcome along a Meisner expert and fantastic filmmaker by the name of Robyn Paterson. And let's take a moment to introduce Robyn and her work. Robyn started acting professionally from the age of 14. She has a BA in Performing and Screen Arts after graduating from the Unitec School of Performing Arts in Auckland, New Zealand in 2009. In the time she was there, she studied under Sanford Meisner graduate Michael Saccente. Hopefully I said that right. From there, she continued to the Neighbourhood Playhouse School of Theatre, otherwise known as the Meisner School in New York. Since then, she returned to New Zealand to complete her postgraduate studies in journalism from the Auckland University of Technology in 2012. Her acting work, like her studies, has taken her all over the world. In 2013, she won the Best Female Newcomer at the Sydney Theatre Festival for her one-woman show, The South Afreakins, which she also took to the Edinburgh Fringe in 2016, where she enjoyed a sold-out month-long run. Also named as the Edinburgh Reporters Pick of the Fringe, furtherly leading to a national tour of New Zealand. In the UK, she moved to London in 2014, where she began working in post-production for television commercials across the UK, Europe, and the UAE, that's the United Arab Emirates, then on to teaching at Royal Holloway University in the directing faculty, and then taking her Meisner workshops to Kingston University, London South Bank, and Roehampton Universities, amongst many, many more. And she is the commander-in-chief of the London Meisner Company, which now has 4 studios across London and teaches over 120 students a week. 4 studios across London, away from her kitchen where it all started. Robyn is one of the brightest and attentive coaches of Meisner, so get in touch on her website now to get yourself involved on Instagram. All links are down below in the description. So, Robyn, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm very good. How's things?
Yeah, really, really good. That's a hell of an intro, man. I didn't expect all of that.
Hey, it's all you, mate. It's all you. All you, man. Yeah. I know. Thank you so much for your time, because I know you've literally just flown back from Japan recently. So exploring the sites over there and everything. So how was it?
Yeah, it was great, except I feel like the heat in August is not talked about enough. I feel like that places are hot, like Africa, and but then the Japanese heat just does not. I just was not prepared. It was like the surface of the sun.
Really?
Yeah, but apart from that, it was cool, man. Like Japanese culture is just wild, so it was great.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we just had a long chat off air about everything. Well, we could go into all that again, but we'll ease into our time. But yeah, how hot did it get out there? Did he see any numbers?
Yeah, it got up to about, well, it was like 35, but then the humidity is sitting at about 85%. So you just can't breathe. Your circuits in your brain aren't firing, and you're walking down the street, and every 2 minutes you've just got to duck into a shop just to get the aircon and then keep walking. So yeah, it was pretty warm.
I imagine a lot of shop owners down there just see people coming in going, you're not from around here, are you? Nope.
No, exactly. You understand why everybody walks around with umbrellas now. Like I get it now.
The little pocket fans where they go like that. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We had them full tourist mode.
Oh, perfect, man. So let's jump in. So in your case, Robyn, where did it come from? The love of the arts, being in this business, Meisner, where did it all come from?
Oh, man, I think I'm going to be really candid with you. I think I was a deeply attention-seeking child, and I think like it's just one of these things that where you're just born into it. There was nothing else I wanted to do. I grew up in a very South African family where I think, a lot of South African mentality is, children are very much to be seen and not heard. And I think when you are put on stage at a very young age and everybody has to listen to you and look at you, suddenly I just was like, this is amazing. So I think my very young self very much enjoyed the attention and also just enjoyed having a bit more of a command of the room, I think. So I loved it, man. From like 3 years old, I was just hooked. Like that's all I wanted to do. And then, thankfully, I'm also not very academically inclined. So I'm also just kind of terrible at academics, and I'm not very book smart. And so my parents were thankfully incredibly supportive and just pushed me more towards the arts because that's where I felt confident and that's where I flourished.
Oh, no, you and me both. You and me both. Academia, what's that? I have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. Maths, what? Cosine? What is that?
Yeah, I know. Secondary sources. Speak English, please. But that being said, you went to the Unitec School of Performing Arts in New Zealand. How was your time there?
I'm a big proponent of drama schools. Like I think there's a lot of good that comes out of them. I think personally I was too young. Like I had a very kind of sheltered adolescence. All I wanted to do was act. I wasn't interested in anything else. And I was also a massive nerd at school, like not in an academic sense, but I was like a very late bloomer. I didn't have a lot of social skills. I was a massive bookworm. I just wanted to act. I did opera. I did musical theater. I did community theater. That was kind of my whole life. So I think when I went to drama school, I was a bit naive about what life was like outside of the microcosm of high school. And I think if I could do my time again, I would give myself a year or maybe two just to really kind of come into my own. I think I really, really struggled. I couldn't marry the love of the arts and the care that I had. I was just obsessed, man. I'm just obsessed with the craft of acting. I'm obsessed with the nuance, the minutia. Like I'm so, like it was just my whole life, from like 14 and working on professional sets. That was it. Every time I left a set, I'd just cry on the car on the way home because I just didn't want to go back to real life. I just wanted to live on set. And I think when you care that much about something, and then you get pushed very easily into the realm of trying. And acting is a fluidity and an easement that is almost like a dance with your instincts. And I think when you try and push anything that should be fluid and that should be instinctual, things go awry. And so my time at drama school, the more it wasn't working for me, the more I pushed. And the more I pushed, the worse it felt. And the worse it felt, the more I pushed. So I got stuck, man. I got really stuck. And I probably left drama school maybe not feeling as in love with the craft as what I did when I first came. And I possibly also left feeling I left feeling like kind of how I felt at high school drama. I wasn't like one of the popular girls, and I went to an all-girls school. So I kind of was overlooked. I felt like my love of it, I was so desperate to be like, God, please see me and see how much I want to do this. And I wasn't. And I maybe felt like that also at drama school, where I felt like I failed, quote unquote, and I wasn't one of the quote unquote good ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Well, what would you say was the difference between like yourself on day one of drama school and on the last day on graduation day?
3 years. That's probably the biggest difference. What was like the biggest difference? Probably I felt really jaded. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I felt jaded. Yeah. I came out and I felt, but maybe it was kind of good for me at the time. Maybe, like this was all kind of growth and maybe looking back, it obviously everything happens for a reason. But I think if I think back to the first day of drama school, I was clear-eyed, bright-eyed, hungry, and I came out feeling, I think, maybe a bit hopeless. But hindsight's a beautiful thing, right? Because now I look back on it and I'm like, oh, okay, there were a lot of things that happened that needed to happen. But that was probably, if you're going to ask me just in isolation, that's probably the biggest difference.
Yeah, no, I'm always interested about the journey because I think some people look back on like themselves on day one on the last day and they go, I don't recognize this person. Who is that? And you realize the journey that you've been on, and it's always interesting to hear about people's stories in that area. So that's really cool. So you did a lot of stuff around sort of during that time, and also while you were there, you studied under Sanford Meisner graduate Michael Saccente. Saccente. Sorry if I said that wrong, Michael, if you're listening. How was training with Michael?
Oh man, Mike. I love that dude so much. That dude changed the way I acted, that was the first acting teacher in my life that I felt, I'm going to get emotional over it because I felt like it was the first dude that saw me and was like, okay, this is what you need to do, Robyn.
Yeah.
Like you, not in this classroom of 20 other actors and we all need to do it this way. This is what's going on with you. There's a really, really good clip of Uta Hagen coaching. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It came up on like the Instagram the other day. But there's this actress and she's saying to Uta Hagen, you know, she says, when I get into the scene, I almost get overwhelmed. She says, like, I almost get to the point where I want to do it so much that I almost lose myself. And there's so much to come out that I'm pushing it because it's all in there with me and it has to come out now. And then I lose myself and I lose my bearing. And Uta Hagen says to her, you know what your problem is? She says, you're not functioning as an actor. And she says, what I mean by that is you're a born performer and you should be on stage and you're not. And for somebody who is born to perform and born to be on stage and who cannot act, not given that opportunity to act, she says it's agony. It's agony not to be in that position to do what you are born to do. And it felt like my whole kind of professional life, because it started from 14 up to when I started training with Mike at about 21, it felt like I just needed someone to see me to go, okay, I get what you're doing. Here's what you're doing. Here's this other depth. And we're going to get in there and we're going to bring it out. And you're going to do it in the way that you're going to do it. And it was so empowering. That dude just empowered me to be unapologetic, to do it in the way that only I can do this, you know? And it's not about being in competition with anybody else. It's about honoring your own emotional viewpoint so you can tell the truth in the way that comes from your most visceral self. And the thing is, Mike is the most like kind of like romantic dude, you know. He's like this New Yorker who's like very brash and like took no shit and kind of held you accountable. And if you didn't turn up to class, he'd call you and be like, why aren't you here? Like, get your ass into class, you know. And he took no shit, man. But it just, being in that environment and being with him revolutionized the way I like approached my acting. I just loved training with him. And you know, like the dude, kind of a bit of a legend in New Zealand, right? Because he's like the only guy that's kind of teaching Meisner. I don't know. I mean, I've been out of the country for a number of years, but like that dude, everybody I know in the New Zealand circles that studies with him, like says the same thing. You know, like that guy just. Yeah, and he churned out like big names, man, like Anthony Starr, Carl Urban, you know, like they're all like his boys, you know, they were all studying with him. And yeah. And then you'd go to class and then Carl, I don't know, he got Lord of the Rings and then we'd have to sit here and hear how Carl was doing really well in Lord of the Rings. And we'd be like, oh, shut up, we're not Carl Urban. But yeah, like, you know, like that dude was just, yeah, I haven't spoken to him in a long time, but I owe him kind of so much, you know.
Jesus. Wow, what a teacher. What a teacher. Yeah.
And it's rare, man. It's rare to find people like that, teachers like that.
Yeah. God, I love that. That was a brilliant answer. Thank you, Robyn. That was amazing. Yeah. I just to hear you talk so passionately about it. Yeah. I mean, we all have those teachers who, like, we look back on it. I've interviewed a few people who say, like, an inspirational drama teacher at school or something, but you at university finding Michael and then just him just allowing you to go forward like that. And like that one person who has the key to, not like the key to your heart in like a romantic way or something, or maybe, I don't know, but there's a key to your heart, and it just goes, and then suddenly it all just comes out, and there it is.
It's like the unlocking of the self, man. But this is where like I'm a really big proponent of, you've got to find what's right for you. Like, and even now with taking in my students, like I will do what he did, which is like sit down and chat to them, because if it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
And I that's one thing that I just wish somebody had said to me at drama school, is that like, if this isn't working for you, something else will work for you. Instead of the feeling of like, oh, it's not working for you, you're a terrible actor. Not that anybody said that to me, but that was implied, you know, where it's like, oh, you're not picking it up. Like, oh, like, ooh, you know, because the agents are coming. So like, like, are you going to get it? But because I'm an overthinker, and I care so much. Yes, you can get me crawling around as a lion, and yes, I can pretend to be a silverback gorilla, and that's fine. And I can be a melting iceberg. And for some people in my class, it works for them. Margot Robbie talks so much about animal work. You know, she talks the bulldog thing in I, Tonya, and but then she talks about trying to integrate flamingo work with Barbie and how that wasn't the key to like unlock, like it wasn't working for her. She's like, I'm doing all this work as a flamingo and it's like not working for me. I just wish somebody had said to me, if it's not working for you, that's okay. And I think that led to the feeling of being jaded, was coming out and being like, it doesn't, because I'm on the floor pretending to be a lion. I get it. I get the feeling. I get the essence. I get the movement. I get the style. The body's going, okay, but now I'm doing Brecht, and now I'm doing Caucasian chalk circle, and now I have to say there is lightning from a clear sky. That makes no fucking sense to me. Like, how do I take the essence of a lioness, and now I've got to say this line that means nothing? You know, like in my brain, it doesn't connect, man. It doesn't work. Yeah.
You know, but we're all different. We all have our own things, you know. And I think one thing about Meisner actually is I think the imagination comes into a lot of it as well. And I think like you're going off there, and I think anyone who does struggle to engage their imagination or see a lightning bolt coming from a ceiling filled with lights and you know, everything and rigging and all that kind of stuff, it helps. And actually I think that's a good lead on to one thing about Meisner he quotes is as if. Like, as if something happened. So for anyone, actually, just a little bit of background about Meisner, if anyone's not familiar, he was a graduate of Stanislavski, and him and sort of the three pioneers of acting work in America. It was him, Sanford Meisner, Lee Strasberg, and Stella Adler, all three with basically very similar attitudes to Stanislavski, but with their own unique kind of spin on it. And Meisner's one of his many techniques is something called as if. So you go into the scene, like to use your example, you walk down the street and now you act as if you have been struck by lightning. What happens to your body? What happens to your mind? Or as if you receive a phone call. Imagine it's as if someone in your family or someone you love, that has happened to them or something, to get the reaction that is required, etc. But that's one of many things. And it's repetition, it's listening. And one thing that I really enjoyed, because we did a 6-week sort of Meisner sort of block at drama school with a great man called Andrew Davidson, who's also been on here talking about it. It's just the repetition. It's listening to each other more than anything. And yeah, it's just a brilliant thing for the actor's toolbox, I think. So where did you first discover Meisner, Robyn?
Well, I was doing a play out of drama school by some fucking miracle, and I was so in my head. I was so like, you know, one of those terrible phases where you're just so disconnected from what's happening, and you're looking at your co-actor, and all you can hear is that running monologue in your head, going like, oh my God, in 3 lines time, I've got to cry and I don't even feel like crying. Like, what am I going to do? And then you're like, oh, I guess I better just bullshit it. And I was just suffering, man. I was going to the rehearsal room and I hated it. And it made me sad, because I was kind of living what you study for and you strive for, and you're in this play, and I was just really kind of hating my life. And a castmate I was talking to that I was rehearsing with, I said that to her. I was like, I just don't think I know how to act anymore. I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for my line. I'm waiting for my cue. I'm waiting to cry on 4. Now I'm waiting to get off the stage. I was like, I'm not in it. I don't feel it. I was like, I don't know what to do. And she said, I've just started studying Meisner with this guy. And she said, we started about 3 weeks ago. Somebody's just dropped out of my class. You should have this interview with him. So my castmate introduced me to Mike. And the first time I did the repetition exercise, I went into this class a few weeks late. So everybody kind of was getting to grips with repetition. And it was single word repetition, which I know sometimes people don't really, you know, learn if they're studying in certain places. But single word repetition is so fucking important. Like, it lends the basis for everything.
Yeah.
And I remember I had to just repeat the word blue. That's all I had to do.
Yeah.
For like 7 minutes. And I remember Mike laying out the exercise, giving me the guidelines of the exercise, and then I'd started reading The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. If you know that, do you know that book?
No, I don't actually. Yeah.
He's not an acting teacher, he's a spiritual enlightenment teacher. And all the students now who come to the London Meisner Company have to read The Power of Now. You
Yeah.
either kind of love it or you hate it.
The Power of Now. Yeah.
Power of Now. And an actor friend of mine had recommended it to me. But it's a book. Eckhart Tolle and Meisner are essentially talking about the same thing.
Mhm.
They're talking about being present. They're just looking at it from different ends of the telescope. And I'd started reading this book, and it was really kind of revolutionizing my mind about just being fully present in the moment. And the greatest affliction an actor suffers from is the belief that the next moment is more important than this one. They are rushing to the next one. They believe that what is happening right now, you just have to get through it because now we're getting to the next. And now we have to get to the next. And I'm telling you, Oliver, I have been to the next moment and there's nothing there. It is either now or it's never. Because the access to everything, that unlocking, is all happening right now. And if you don't hear what's happening right now, you can't experience it. So you'll just spend the entire scene just hurrying, and you'll get to the end and you would have felt nothing. And I was reading this book, and Mike gave me the outline of the exercise, and I remember my partner, and I remember everything about it. I remember the word, I remember what I was wearing, and I remember I started, and about halfway through the exercise, I started to laugh. And I remember Mike from the corner of the room in his very New York accent being like, if you want to laugh, it's okay, you can laugh.
Do it.
Do it. Just and through this repetition, I remember that like sun coming through the clouds and being like, this is the first genuine thing I have felt in 3 years. I remember in my early 20s being like, I don't even think I know how to laugh properly. I remember having this thing of being like, I don't actually know what my laugh sounds like. It would feel like I'd try on different laugh. And I remember this laugh came from my belly, and I just laughed through the word blue for 7 minutes. And I remember being like, okay, this is I don't know what the fuck this is. We're like repeating the word blue and like whatever, but something is here. And from that moment, man, it was like, I call it like emotional heroin. Like you just want it like you're just like, put it in my veins, man. Like you're chasing that organic river that's just carrying you through it for like the rest of like my acting career. It was that, man. It was that feeling, not just the laughter. It was the spontaneity, authentic organicness of it, or it was nothing for me, you know? That's what it was.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Yeah. I mean, I think another word for today really is just relax. It's relaxing into the moment and allowing, like you say, that laugh just to come through naturally and spontaneity, and just allowing yourself to not, because I remember speaking to this with somebody else. It's like when you're in that zone of thinking about the next moment, like as you say, you're constantly thinking, okay, my next line's this. I know I have to be there. I know my exit's over there. And then you're thinking about all these things. And then you've got the director going, just enjoy yourself. Like, how can I enjoy myself? I've got all these things to be thinking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you can't, I've got caught in that trap myself many times. And, actually having been through that block of 6 weeks with Andrew at GSA, it made me think, like, it taught me exactly what you said there, how to be present, how to be ultimately present and relax. And another word, trust yourself, that you know what the next line is. You don't need to search for it in your brain. Obviously you do your line drilling and all that kind of stuff, and then you know what's happening next. And that's one thing I want to say for today, is that learning your lines without emotion. I know I did a previous episode about this, and some people prefer to learn line with emotion, and that's fine. If that works for you, then great. But it works for me is that when you say your lines, but without pauses, you just learn them in like bum, 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 bum. Like to be or not to be, there is the question, which is no, but the mind suffer the things out of outrageous fortune. There's no breaks.
Yeah.
And I think for me that was huge, because then I know it's there.
Yeah.
And then you can, if you learn it like that, then you just know it just flows through you. And I think there was a moment where, I think I've talked about this before on here, but I'll say it again. There was a moment where we did, with Andrew, we did this play called Rabbit Hole. Did you ever heard of it? David Lindsay Abaire? Oh, it's a beautiful play. I can recommend it highly. There's a scene where I'm talking to my team partner, and there's one point where they're a couple, and she's going, like, look, I don't want, like, you get to escape this house. You get to go to work every day. And my line was, well, if you want to go back to work, you can call up Sotheby's. And it was set in America, in Larchmont, in New York, actually. And I remember this when we did it in front of the class, this reaction just happened. It's like, well, if you want to go back to work, you can carve Sotheby's. And afterwards I thought, where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah.
And, you know, it all comes from just relaxing and being in the moment and just allowing it to happen. Yeah. I mean, have you ever had any other experiences like that after that moment of laughter?
Oh, like hugely, man. And I see it in my students. I had one last night.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're into the more advanced phase of the technique. They're doing knock at the door, which is the start of relationships and a skeleton of the scene.
Yeah.
And he looked at his scene partner last night and he kind of laughed. And the rule of repetition is that you repeat until there's something called the pinch and the ouch, right? The pinch and the ouch is an impulse that arises from the back and forth. It arises out of the repetition. When something pinches you, you follow through with the ouch. The ouch is following through on how that makes you feel, and you hold the other partner accountable. So you call out the behavior of what they're doing that makes you feel like that. And she said they were repeating last night, and she looked at him, and the way she spoke to him, this laugh came out of him. And we're talking about a dude who's about 6'3", bald, physical trainer, so a PT, very, very solid. And he kind of laughed at her. And he said, you look at me like I'm a monster or something. And she repeated that back to him. She said, I look at you like you're a monster or something. And he went, yeah, you look at me like I'm a monster or something. And you could feel it, man. You could feel it come up through the throat, out of the mouth. And this whole beat that they explored was just so fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's not about trying to make it interesting, man. It's about hearing what they have to say to you and taking it personally. Like that's what it is. And actors say to me like all the time, like, oh, it's all about listening. How do I listen? I'm like, what do you mean? How do you listen? What do you mean? Like, you cannot think and listen at the same time. Like, if I said to you now, like, just put all your attention on every sound that you can hear right now. If it's a ticking or a car or an airplane or a rustle, you can't think, right? You can't think and really do it at the same time. That's how it's like meditation. You cannot, the moment you sit and you meditate, is the moment you start going like, oh, I'm doing it really well. Oh, this is great. Stop doing it, right? You go back to actually doing it. And then you're doing it and you do it for a few seconds and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing it again. This is great. Okay, cool. This is what it is, man. It's just, what can you hear? What can you hear? This is the doorway. This is the access point. This is the gateway. It's here. Not what's coming up next. Not the moment in the scene where you cry or he throws the plate or she kisses you or you take off your shirt. Not that. It's what your partner is doing right now. It's how they're speaking to you. It's the iota of behavior. And you giving yourself permission to truly respond to that with how you honestly feel about that. And that's what we don't do. We don't do that in everyday life. In everyday life, we operate on what's called the second beat. The first beat is, how do I truly feel about this? The second beat is, how do I deal with this? How do I manage this? How do I control this? That's the second beat. And if you want to see people always following through on their first beats, go look at a toddler. Because toddlers follow through on their first beats all the fucking time. You see them in the supermarket, right? And they're like, I want the biscuits. And the mother's like, no, we're not having the biscuits. And the toddler is like,
guys.
Oh, like, you know, like, it doesn't matter, man. Yeah. They don't care who's looking at them. They don't care whose feelings they hurt. They don't care how they sound. All that matters is what's happening and how do I feel about it.
Yeah.
And that's where you talk about being relaxed, right? When you play as a child, how relaxed are you? You're not playing with the essence of trying to get it right. You're not playing with the essence of, God, I want them to think I'm good. You're just playing, man. You're just playing it. And that's where, you know, actors, you become so formulaic. You become so stuck on the structure, on the academia, on the intellect. Yes, know it. Find out all the information. But then when it comes to the moment, you'll handle it, man. You'll handle it. You're playing. It's okay. The game is only over when mother comes out and says, it's time to come home. Come on, you've got to leave your friends now. We don't ever want to Stop playing. It's that. It's imagination. It's playtime. It's relaxed. You can't play right, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it reminds me of something that Dustin Hoffman actually said. I know he was a graduate of Strasbourg, slightly different from Meisner, but they're all kind of, like I said earlier, they're all shares of the same foundation in a way. And he gave this interview in the Actors Studio in Pace University. Is that New York? I think it's New York. And he said, someone asked him a question about method, and it's not, and that's a whole other conversation. Method acting is not what the media says it is. It's not doing a Daniel Day-Lewis living in the jungle for 6 months, but if that works for him, great. But, that's not it. It's been completely distorted. So I remember Dustin Hoffman said that one thing that Strasbourg used to do was song exercises, where you would stand up in front of just the room and just go, my country, that sort of thing. And ultimately what it was, you could sit in a chair and just go in front of a live audience and just go, fuck it.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Just like whatever happens, whatever I'm feeling right now, it's all part of the process. I'm not trying to have a table or a checklist in my brain. So at this moment, the audience must laugh. Now the audience must cry. Now the audience must feel guilty. Now the audience must feel bad for me. No.
And Meisner says that. He says anything that you pre-plan, you now cannot do.
Mm-hmm.
He says because now you've robbed it of all life, and you can't do that now, because it's not going to be full of something. It's not going to be alive. So now you've got to leave it. And now, what is your partner? Always come back to your partner. What is your partner doing?
Yeah.
How are they looking at you? How are they speaking to you? But it's that the fuck it thing. I teach out at East 15, and I think they have 2 rules at East 15, which always kind of makes me laugh. Which is, but one of it is what they call the fuck it factor. I always say this: the hardest thing in the world to teach actors is how not to give a shit, because we care.
It's true.
So much. I feel like sometimes Mike wanted to bash his head against the wall when it came to me, because I would just, and it would, especially when we came to scenes, and especially when we came to working with text, and he would sit in the corner, and you would never. And then when I went to the Playhouse, my teacher Gary Kingston there, who also I just adore with every fiber of my being, they gave you notes while you were working, but you could never look at them. You were never allowed to drop the moment and step out of it and look at your teacher. You had to stay with your partner. And I remember Mike used to scream at me from the corner of the room because I'd be doing the scene. And it's again that Uta Hagen thing I was just talking about, where she says, like, you're not functioning as an actor because you've got so much, and now you just want to do all of it, and you just want to push it, and you just want to feel like you're an actor and you're doing the scene really well. And Mike would just scream, just say the fucking words. That's all he'd scream at me. Robyn, just say the fucking words. And it sounds so. The thing about Meisner, it's incredibly paradoxical, because then this is kind of why the technique in a way kind of makes you want to kill yourself, because everything is in a direct opposing relation to all of the instructions. By making it all about the other person, it inherently makes it all about you. But you have to be interested in them in order to become interesting for people to watch.
Yeah.
So by just simply telling me to just fuck it, stop pushing, stop trying so hard, by just simply saying it, suddenly you come back to yourself. You come back to everything that's happening, and now things can move. Because again, you're relaxed. It doesn't mean you're apathetic. It doesn't mean you're disengaged. It means you are just with it. And now, just looking at your partner, now you can be heard in the way that you want to be heard.
And I feel like, again, it's just, I think, and one thing that Meisner also gets is that, you strip away wanting to show something, because we've all seen people trying to show emotion, and it just makes my skin crawl. It just makes me want to feel sick. It's like, obviously you don't, and it's just like how one expression can just say 100 words. You at first you think, but I'm not doing anything. I'm not moving my face. It's like, what? Yeah, because that's what we do in life. I think De Niro actually said at one point, you don't have to do anything. Nothing, I could be talking to you like we're talking now, and I could say something like big that's happened in your family, and your face would just be exactly as it is. Now you're processing the information, but it gives the audience a chance to read into what you're saying. You know, you don't have to do anything at all, nothing, and it will take care of itself. And there's a brilliant story of, do you know who Oliver Reed was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, amazing actor, you know, a gladiator, etc. You know, he said he met Orson Welles, and he said, and Oliver Reed said, I simply had no confidence in how to play things down, or, you know, obviously you play things down for film and stuff, but you can also do it in the theatre as well and allow people to read into what you're saying. And he said, Orson, I want to thank you, sir, because you taught me about how to play things down, and you gave me that confidence in myself to do it. And he looks at him and he says, dear boy, if in doubt, do nothing. And I think that's brilliant, you know.
That's so good. It's about, I think though, here's the thing. When you say do nothing, actors can get in their heads about that, right? So an actor will go like, okay, so I'm not going to do anything. And I had another student yesterday who I was coaching, and she said, sometimes I feel that I'm feeling things, but then I look at myself on camera and nothing's there. I look almost shut down.
I'm the same.
She's like, but I'm feeling them.
Yeah.
If you're actively trying to do nothing, that's a doing, right? I am actively, the attention is on myself, and I am actively trying to do nothing. When you learn that your instincts and your impulses don't require any sort of conscious manipulation, that they are always taking care of themselves, you start to actually understand the dissection of the stance of an actor helps tell the actor what to do, not what not to do. You have to really pull it apart. If the attention is on myself and I am telling myself not to do anything, I'm going to look incredibly wooden, and I'm going to look incredibly shut down. If I understand that all day long, when I walk around out there in my life, my attention is on everything outside of myself, right? I'm not thinking about myself at all. And my emotions and my impulses and my instincts are doing this all day long. They're responding to everything. I don't have to work at that. My impulse and my instincts are doing all of that for me. It requires, Robyn does not need to think about that. It's the same way that I don't need to think about breathing at night, and I don't need to think about growing my hair or my fingernails. And the one thing I'll say to my actors when they stand up there is just stand up there and grow your fingernails. Because if you imagine putting a pulse on screen, watch that pulse. And I don't know, you start to excite the actor and that pulse starts to pick up. You've got no control over that. That is you responding truthfully to the stimulus. It's a very, very interesting, I'm coming back to telling what the actor to do. I'm just going to talk roundabout. But there's a really interesting YouTube video of a biologist called Bruce Lipton, which one of my students actually sent to me, because she's like, oh my God, this is what we're doing in class. And he actually talks about cells on a molecular biological level. And how he talks about dispelling the myth of the cancer gene, and how you aren't really born with a cancer gene. If you were born with a cancer gene, you'd have cancer from the moment you were born. That's not what the case is. What the case is outside of your cells that make up your entire body, your cell is full of receptors. And your receptors on your cells are consistently scanning for stimulus and scanning for signal. So they're looking for inflammation, they're looking for allergy, they're looking for infection. They're consistently and unconsciously scanning. And if they receive signal or stimulus, then they respond. It doesn't mean that they are disengaged or dormant. They are always active. But there's no manipulation that's needed. And if you can take that idea and add it to us as actors, we are like biological cells because we have our receptors. We have our eyes, nose, smell, taste, touch. We have all of that. We don't need to push in order to respond. If we receive the stimulus, we will naturally respond. Somebody walks into a room and we look up. We don't need to think so much about that. We don't need to worry about doing less. If you're not feeling what you're feeling, if you're not feeling anything in the scene, or you're not feeling what you think you should be feeling, then you can't self-generate emotion. Cells cannot activate from the inside. Cells can only respond to stimulus. Cells can only respond to signal. So if you aren't feeling it, you can't self-activate. all you can do then is say the words as honestly as you can. And that will bring yourself right back to you.
Yeah.
Whatever is happening with you and whatever is happening between the two of us in this moment here. That's where the access point is right back here now. All you can, oh, sorry, my TV's making noise. All you can do is say the words as honestly as you can. But if the attention is on myself and I am trying to do things from the inside, it will never work. If I tell myself that I must not do anything, don't do anything, then we're going to get what I saw yesterday on camera, where somebody is, I'm not doing anything, I'm not doing anything, I'm not doing anything. The attention always needs to be external. The attention always needs to be on what is happening in front of us right now, or what is happening around us right now. And this brings us back to Meisner's tagline, which is getting the actor to respond truthfully to the surrounding circumstance. But if I can watch you, put all my attention on you, be deeply interested in the absolute micro expressions, the minutiae, the iotas of behavior, there's no time to think about me. And when there's no time to think about me, well, now I will respond from the inside. Why? Because there's a cause. There's a cause coming from you, and there's an effect coming from me. But Meisner says this: everything out in nature is natural because there's a cause and there's an effect. And anything in nature that has an effect without a cause is unnatural. And that's reducing it right down to a scientific biological level. If there's an effect without a cause, unnatural.
Wow. God, that was like a masterclass on acting. That was brilliant.
Well, sorry, I didn't know how long I talked for. So
No. Bring it all, Robyn. Bring it all. That was incredible. Thank you. God, you're full of amazing things. You really are. I've one question there was that about feeling. Some people say oh, yeah, but I'm not feeling anything. I don't know how to play this scene. It's well, you just, again, going back to the GSA things, but you allow, like you just said there, the receptors, you allow that to feel it. And by listening and it sort of happens on its own, it will take care of itself. And there's another moment where Dustin Hoffman in that same interview said to him, he talks about the myth of feeling things. So you have to have something pre-planned, what I assume. Anyway, it sounds like you're talking about, I've got to feel something in order to deliver this line. And therefore it comes from a place of artificiality. You create stuff, which, as we've talked about, doesn't work. People can see right through it immediately and go, okay, just stop right there. Stop what you're doing. But Dustin Hoffman talks about how literally all I'm going to do is I'm just going to say this out loud and use my voice to break you in half. I'm not thinking about anything else. So you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I said, get out of here. Not feeling a thing. No, not feeling a thing. Just break through it. I'm going to use my voice to break you in half. That's it. That's what I'm thinking.
The one of the best quotes I find in my training in the past is my teachers would say to me, do what you want, not what you think you should. And I love that, man. Just even it just gave me so much permission to have autonomy over binning the idea of acting for somebody else's sake. I think the idea that we must be feeling something is because that way we are honoring the playwright, we're honoring the director, we're honoring our scene actors, we're honoring the casting director so we can get the role. It's for everybody else's sake except our own. And if you do what you want and not what you think you should, like Dustin Hoffman there, okay, I'm just going to break you in half, instead of thinking I should be feeling all this stuff, then it works, man. It works. It's that acting is it's an art form. Oh, it's an art form. It's how on earth can you do this right? And all of these things we're talking about just stems right back to the epicenter of this, which is, how do I do this well and how do I get this right? And this is where Depp talks about auditioning and acting are two completely different skill sets. I think we get locked into this idea of how do I do this well, because there's a transactional outcome. If I do this well, I'm going to get the role, right? Or if I do this really well, then I'm going to be good. And if I'm good, then I'm going to be the best. And if I'm the best, I'm going to win. I don't know. That's the mindset of actors when we want something from whatever it is we're doing. That's not what it is. It's painting, man. It's Rothko, It's red on red and layer on layer and moment to moment. A Monet is a brush stroke after a brush stroke after a brush stroke. And at the end, suddenly we have light on the canvas. What does that look like? Well, we won't know until we're done. Meisner talks about moving moment to unanticipated moment. That's the whole point, because that's what life is. How can you, it's not paint by numbers. It's not red here and red here and red here and blue here. And this Dustin Hoffman scene, this is where I will cry. It's not about that. It's what is happening. How do I honestly feel about it? Now I'm going to follow through on the first beat, right? The first beat, simple. Keep it fucking simple. Meisner loves simplicity. We love simplicity because you can't play complex. You can't play the complexity of the human condition. Keep it really simple. You do something. How does it make me feel? Go back to the child. Go back to the toddler. Does it make me feel mad, sad, or glad? Okay, I feel mad. I'm walking down to the train. The doors are closing. And what's this? A little old lady walking in front of me who's taking the stairs 1 hour at a time. How do I honestly feel about it? Well, I feel mad and I want to kick her down the stairs, right? Like, that's my first feeling. I cannot do that, because if I follow my first impulse out there in society, I'll be fired or I'll be slapped, right? Like, I can't do that. So I have to operate on the second beat. The second beat is, how do I deal with this? Well, I might give like an under my breath, like, and then I might go round her and then hopefully make the train. That's what I operate on. That's how we operate on in society, the second beat. And that's not what acting is. It is moment to moment. What are you doing? How do I feel about it? Follow through on it. Meisner's 3 moments, right? I hear it. I know how I feel. I respond. But it's the giving the permission to follow through on the first moment that we don't do. That's what we have to learn. And that's where we have to unlearn all these bad habits of like doing it really well and doing it really good. Because let's be honest, right? Like, this is why, sorry, I'm like incredibly passionate about this.
No, keep it coming, man. Keep it coming.
This is why we all become actors, right? Because we want like mother to like pat us on top of the head and be like, oh, good job for you. Or, you know, like, we want people to see us and hear us. Like, that's inherently why we do this. We love it. We like thrive on it. We like want these shared experiences with like our nearest and dearest. This is why we do this stuff. But we learn as we go through our life that we cannot follow through on the first impulse. We can't. Ooh, like, did you think about that person? Did you think about how what you said would make them feel? Did you think about how that would have like hurt somebody's feelings? Did you think about how, I don't know, your actions affect somebody else? Don't do this. Don't do that. Remember to do this. Remember to be kind. Remember to be polite. Remember to be nice. Okay. And then we get there into a scene. And what do? Well, fuck, we're just still working on the second beat. Is that all right for you? Is that okay? How do you want me to do this? Is this okay? Do you want me to be good? Please tap me on the head and tell me I'm good. Do what you want, man.
Yeah.
What's happening? How do you feel? Now tell the fucking truth. At the end, we'll have a scene. What that scene will look like, I don't know. It'll be a Monet painting.
Yeah.
When we get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's I just reminded again of something Oliver Reed did. Actually, there's a brilliant video of him. I think I'll send it over to you, of him with an acting student. Well, this guy's literally just left RADA, and you know, he walks in the room and he goes, "Okay, so your scene. Tell me about it. What are you going to do?" And he goes, "Okay, I'll just do my first line here." And he goes, in a very, very exaggerated way, he goes, "I told you, old man, leave us alone." And,
I've seen this.
Yeah, and Oliver Reed just goes, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. No, you have no idea what you're saying, because you've been to RADA and the sound man told you to speak up. I just told you to speak softly. I told you, old man, leave us alone. You know, and he does it again, and he goes, "I told you, old man, leave us alone." He goes, "Why are you doing that with your mouth? You're trying to kiss me?" It's like you don't leave us alone. You know, you're not playing a fucking trumpet. You know, just tell you the fucking words. Oh, it's a brilliant clip. And by the end of it, he just goes, "Okay, I told you, man, leave us alone." Okay, much better, much better. Just take it. Sorry. I told you, old man, leave us alone. Otherwise, you're going to get the young lady in trouble. And in the end, he doesn't listen. He actually kicks him out. He just goes, "You're not listening, are you?" And against that word, "You're not listening." So you're not being in the work. So "You're not listening, are you?" He's like, "Go on, get out. Go on, piss off. Get out." And you actually see him push him out the door. It's a brilliant clip. Oh, it's so funny.
It's so funny. But then again, it comes back to what Mike used to say. Just say the fucking words. Just say the words, man. And it's the same. I was saying this to a student the other day, where he did some Meisner in New York, and now he's here and he's training. And we were having a laugh because we were talking about repetition, and we were talking about listening and repeating. And he had the same experience that I had with my teachers when I started. I think anyway, he was doing repetition. His teacher would stop him and say, you're not actually doing it. You're not listening and repeating. And he would say he wanted to feel like wanted to pull out his hair, because he was like, I am. I'm listening and I'm repeating. Like, what else do you want? And it was only when with everything that he had, he heard every word for the first time, like it was a completely new thing he had never heard before. And he repeated that repetition back, and he would hear the next one like he had never heard it before with every fiber of his being, and he repeated it back. Only then was he like, okay, I'm not doing it. And that's what's incredibly frustrating about Meisner, is that it's so deceptively difficult. Because it is. I mean, acting, people watch it. The greats make it look easy. You watch the greats and you go, I can do that. Oh, I can pretend to do that. And it's only through it, but it's the same as watching the Olympics. You watch Simone Biles, and I eat my crisps on my couch and I watch it, and then she steps out after she does her double, triple back handspring or whatever it is she does, and then she takes one step to the side, and I'm like, oh, what a loser. My God, you got to step out at the end. Come on, Simone Biles. When I can't even do a handstand. Like the greats make it look effortless.
Yeah.
But it's about bringing your whole self to it. You cannot do this if you don't bring your whole self to the work,
Yeah. It's just,
yeah. Sorry.
No. It's fine. And the power is already in you. I think that's one thing I've learned, is that it's already there. Everything that you need is already in you. You just need to just relax and let it come out. I remember the first ever Meisner thing I ever did. I remember I was at university, and one weekend, RADA over here they did Saturday classes at the time. And I went up and did one on Meisner, and I had no idea what Meisner was. I just wanted a trip to London. So I got there, and, first time doing the repetition exercises, and it got late in the day. I remember there was a girl opposite me, and we just went back and forth. It was like blue eyes, brown eyes, boom, and and then eventually we did this thing where you're smiling. He says, I'm smiling, you're smiling, I'm smiling. And then you can change the subject. And I remember going, I'm not smiling. You're smiling. No, you're not smiling. You're not smiling. No, I'm not smiling. I'd say all these different ways of doing it. And I remember the guy running it. He was this Scottish guy, this massive ginger beard. Wherever you are, just thank you for that workshop if you're listening. I remember him saying, God, was that the Ollie I just saw there was a different Ollie from this morning. And I was like, and it was just simply from listening and just responding and just, again, relaxing, because I went in, I won't lie to you, I went in like this, I have no idea what I'm doing, I've got to get it right. And it's like, now those in they've got to get it right days, and now it's like, just don't think about it, don't think about trying to get it right, you just got to let all that go. So yeah,
I'm sure he probably said it in the workshop, but there's this wonderful Meisner phrase that for years when I was studying with Mike, I couldn't understand. It was when we were into emotional preparation, which is Meisner's wishful thinking, living daydream. Yeah. And you prepare for the scene. So what we've kind of talked, it relates to what we're talking about before about, you have to obviously come in with something. You cannot just start a scene from zero. So you go out, you prepare for the scene, you use Meisner's living daydream. You come into the room and you're doing the scene, and Mike would stop me in the middle of the scene, and he'd look at me and he'd say, Robyn, and he'd say, the emotion is the river, and the words are the canoe. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? I was like, what? And you never argued with Mike, right? Because this was the day.
No.
Yeah, when Mike studied with Sanford Meisner because he had no voice, you'd never make Meisner repeat himself because he didn't have a voice. So you never, and this was one of the things in Mike's class, you never, ever allowed, if he gave you a note, even if you didn't understand it, it was like, yep, absolutely, like, not a problem. You would never make Mike repeat himself. And so he said this to me, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck that means. And I was like, yeah, like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, and he's like, go out and do it again. And so I like go out and I like prepare, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I come in, and I'm doing the scene, and I'm like second time around, and he stops me at the same place again, and he's like, Robyn. He's like,
I was like, oh, what now?
The emotion, yeah, it's the same fucking thing. He's like, the emotion is the river, and the words are the canoe. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I don't know what that is. Anyway, cut to like 2 years later, and he's helping me with an audition over Skype when I lived in Australia, which I got, thank God. Otherwise, he would have like disowned me. But we're working on the scene, and I can see he just wants to throw the laptop across the room. Like, he's so done with me. And he's like, Robyn? He's like, the emotion is the river. And the words
are the canoe.
And after a while, I just like sat there for a few seconds and I was like, what? Oh, and I was like, oh. And I said, Mike, for 2 years I've been saying I understand what you mean when really I've had no idea. And he's like, oh, because you've been shit for 2 years. And I was like, yeah, okay, like that's fair. That's fair. I get that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. And he told you like that's why you love him. But I finally understood what he's saying. Like when you're talking there about the repetition, when we start with here at the studio, it's always just one word, always one, just one. And you see it, man. You see when like the actors, the full attention is with each other. They're not worried about themselves. They couldn't give a fuck about themselves. It's all about them. They've come fully to their partner and they're really seeing each other, right? And they're not just like listening. They're really hearing what each other's saying to them. I have seen people date, get married, divorce, and then argue about the kids all through the word yellow. Do you know? Like I have seen like the flirtations arise and the embarrassment and the like first date that goes terribly wrong all through the word blue. The emotion, the connectedness, that's what drives the scene, man. It's the behavior. It's got nothing to do with the text. And even Adler says this, right? Like the three of them used to like kind of spar. And I know that Strasberg and Meisner used to be quite tight when they started. And by the end of their lives, they like hated each other. And Meisner used to throw shade at Strasberg because he used to say, if you want to spend 6 months staring out the window, learning how to imagine snow, go to Lee's studio. Here, I'll teach you how to do that in like 10 minutes. And even when Lee Strasberg died, Adler said, oh, thank God, now we can do it properly. Like that was her response to it. So I don't know. They all sparred amongst each other. But sorry, I digress. But going back to the emotion, even Adler says it. She says, you'll never find the emotion in the text, ever. You will always find it between this guttural, visceral exchange between two people. And I always say this in the studio, like nothing ever gets in the way of two actors just bearing their souls to one another. Like that, nothing ever gets in the way of that. The behavior, the effectiveness of it, the presence, the beat we explore together, whether we're saying the word blue or whether we're putting lines of the text on top of it, doesn't fucking matter, man. It doesn't matter. The river can be slow and it can be deep and the current can be really quiet and the leaves can just spin in little circles, or it can be raging and it can be rapid and it can be white water and it can be tense and it can be, you know, whatever is happening between the two of us. You imagine a red canoe and a green canoe floating on top of that river. Whether it's repetition, whether it's your own words, whether it's what you want to say in that moment about what they're doing and how that makes you feel, if that is what the red canoe is, by all means, ride in that red canoe. But if I ask you to step from that red canoe into the green one, it still rides the same. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's your own words. It doesn't matter if it's the text. Nothing ever gets in the way of what we are exploring together, what you're doing to me and what I'm doing to you. Like you said before about like, you know, you learn your lines like a phone number, right? Like you can rattle it off and you just kind of say it as monotone as you can. You can't, that's it. You have to have them down pat. You cannot be fully present with your partner and be trying to think of your lines at the same time, because then you leave the river. You get right out of the water. And my first job out of drama school was a German film. And I left drama school like 15 years ago, man, and I can still say, ich habe ganz vergessen, dass sie noch in der Brücke arbeiten, die Straße nach beneden ist gesperrt. Sie müssen den Umweg über Auckland nehmen. I can still say it, because I cannot be up here pulling back from what's happening and be fully here invested in you at the same time.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I remember I mentioned Rabbit Hole earlier. I still remember the scene. I still remember my lines, and that was 3 years ago now. But you know, I still remember. I sometimes go out for walks and stuff, and I just think, you know, and I just rattle it off, and I just think, yeah, it's still there after 3 years. Yeah, and it's just like, wow, you know, and it all came from just relaxing, listening, and engaging the scene partner. I remember one thing Andrew used to do a lot, and I'm sorry, Andrew, I'm going to do this impression again if you're listening. But it all comes from a place of love, mate. But one thing he did, he was an Australian, so one of your neighbours actually, and he would every single session he would always just drill this into us. He always go, "You're engaging a scene partner. You're engaging a scene partner. You're engaging a scene partner." Constantly, thank you. But you're engaging a scene partner. You're being enveloped by them, or you're being sharpened by them. You know, it's like there's a beat. How does the beat affect you? What's happening in the moment is, I suppose, the beat. You know, you hear the current of the water. Is the water rushing or is it calm? But is there a crocodile underneath there? Like any moment, someone can just go, poof, you know, and you know, it's constantly like with this engage, listen, relax, but engage, you know, and that sort of thing. So it was brilliant. Have you seen Frost Nixon at all, the film?
Oh, no, I haven't, no.
Okay, and there's it's based around Nixon's famous resignation. He was part of a cover-up and stuff. I don't know the full details, but he was part of something, and then people found out and he had to resign. Anyway, it was Michael Sheen and the actor playing Nixon, I can't remember his name, but he was phenomenal. And there's a brilliant scene towards the end where it's based off the interview that David Frost and Richard Nixon had. And again, it's an absolutely wonderful film. Can't recommend it enough. But it's a beautiful, I think it's very Meisner. It's back and forth with all this information. And Frost's intention is to get Nixon to confess, yeah, you were part of a cover-up. Why can't you just admit it? But he keeps deflecting, he tells stories, you know, and it's almost like the water is like, you know, when you put like water on a hob, like when you're cooking pasta or something, or like the water is just like, or got lava underneath it, and like at the beginning it's bubbling away very, very, very mildly, but then the waters get, the bubbles start getting more frequent, and it rises and it rises and it rises, and the canoe starts very like this, but then just goes, just, you know, going all over the place, and by the end of it you're trying to hold on and not fall out, you know, but staying true to your side of what David Frost's like argument, which was, I'm gonna get you, I have the facts, I'm gonna get you, and I'm gonna push you out of your boat, and I'll let you see what happens next. But yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, yeah, so what was the phrase again? So the words,
the emotion is the river,
the words are the canoe. Wow. Yeah.
The words, whatever is happening between the two of us, the words, they float on top.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. I remember actually, I was at university once. I think I remember someone saying, like, when you get the atmosphere of the scene, the lines sort of like just like icing on the cake or something like that. Obviously know your lines, of course. But you know, but they're like just like on the top in a way, if that makes sense. Was that's something you always instill in students as well?
Well, Meisner's approach to text is that we start with poems called Spoon River Anthology. So for 18 months of training, they don't really kind of work with text. There's so many different phases of the technique to learn beforehand. Oh, excuse me, just 1 second. Can I just mute myself while I cough?
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, so there's so many different parts of the technique. So you don't actually work with text until you're done with the technique training. Then you go into something called Spoon River Anthology, which is, you know, you kind of, Meisner like to work with it as the kind of first introduction to text. You just kind of learn how to not be bound by text and not be acting the text, but instead, just almost like repetition, find the truthfulness underneath it, you know, and that will bring out the words in whatever way that the words come out. Then as you get into scenes, what you do is you write out the scene with no punctuality, no grammar. So the whole scene is written out all entirely lowercase. And then what you do is you learn your lines completely monotonous. So no emotion, no intonation. Another way to do it is to write out all of your lines as a monologue. So don't even worry about the other person's lines. Learn your entire script as a monologue. But you need to learn it like a monologue and recite it like your phone number. So just the simple way that you were able to do it there, that's how you should be able to learn your lines. And then from there, you come to class, and then we do all sorts of fun things with the text in order to just kind of really break down the rigidity, the structure of the scene. The beats, you know, when playwrights write plays, they're not putting beats in strange places. They're not putting moments where moments shouldn't be, by two people simply understanding the scene and interacting with one another. The beats are pretty easy to find, you know. When you learn how to work off your impulses and your instincts, you're able to pick them up. And then, you know, it doesn't matter what kind of medium you're working on, man. If you're working on screen, if you're working on stage, all you have to do is just change your truth for the space that you're playing in.
Yeah, it's you look at, like you mentioned earlier about some of the greats do it. I think we were talking about animal studies earlier, and I think there's a very famous one. I've mentioned this before, but it's Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs. I heard a story that he looked at tarantulas and just that look down the camera. I mean, you've seen the film, right?
Yeah.
It's like the opening scene where the interrogation with Clarice, where he's just looking down the camera, and all he's doing is just engaging with her. He's not doing anything evil or something. He's just staring. But the way he stares, and when someone said tarantula, I was like, oh yeah, I got that now. It's just that menacing look of like something that at any moment can just go, and there it is. Yeah.
Have you ever heard the phrase that you're only as interesting as you are interested?
No, I haven't heard that before.
That was something that was quite revolutionary for me in my training. And I think it's quite true in everyday life. If you ever imagine being on a date and some people, all they do is just talk about themselves, they're not very interesting, right? But you're only as interesting as you are interested. I'm incredibly curious to the point of being nosy. You don't ever want to text next to me on the tube, because I will blatantly like read what you're texting to somebody. Like I'm so insanely, I can't even call it curious. I'm deeply nosy. I just want to know what the fuck's going on all the time. But your curiosity as an actor in life and in your acting will save you. When you say stay engaged, this is the one thing I really struggled with at drama school, is because I'm an overthinker and because I'm a perfectionist. I used to be a perfectionist and I wanted to do everything just so bloody well that if somebody would tell me like that, like to stay engaged, I inherently then put myself before my scene partner, because I, Robyn, now need to be engaged. If anything, it severs my connection with the person in front of me. And because I'm no longer interested in what's happening, it inherently makes me not very interesting to watch, because I'm so busy trying to do something that I'm not listening to what you have to say to me. So when I can't remember which teacher used to say that to me. It was either Gary or Mike. But when they would say that, like, you're only as interesting as you are interested, it suddenly was so helpful as an actor to almost put myself out of the way and bring you to the forefront of my whole sphere of vision and scope. Because by completely being interested in you, it's the same with, you're talking about, we're looking down the camera, right? Sure, she might not be standing right there in the center of the camera, but you're only as good as your imagination. Yeah. So he can imagine that she's there. I'm telling you right now, that dude, even though he's imagining her face, he's watching. He's deeply, deeply interested in everything that is going on in this imagination that he's seeing in front of him. That's what makes him so fucking compelling to watch. It's an actor's internal indulgence that you say before it makes your skin crawl. That's what turns us off. That's where ultimately the pushing and the demonstration comes from. But if we are interested in what's happening, then we become deeply interesting to watch.
I think it was, when someone tries to cry or something. I remember, I've been in a few auditions where I've seen people trying to cry, and I just, anyway. But there was, I think it's a great line from Olivier where he says, "The best is like, just if you don't cry, don't show too much, don't show anything, and not as in like that or nothing, but just." He said the most interesting thing is that when you see someone who wants to cry but who's trying desperately hard not to, trying to hold it back, and when you see that and you can read it into someone's eyes, and just from your own perspective, you being interested in them, and then like what you said just there, I'm going, oh my God, that person's doing everything they can to try and hold it together and not just explode. And that's what makes me want to go up to that person, just give them a hug, or just take them off to one side and go, are you okay? Sit down, have a glass of water, have a cup of coffee, just want to like father them or mother them or something, but again, it all comes from just the internal journey which you're on, and the engagement as well, and being interested in other people, and it creates a lot of beauty in just a look and an intention in which we can see. And
isn't that a lovely other Meisner phrase, which is an ounce of behavior is worth a pound of words.
He's brilliant.
He was brilliant.
Yeah. No, which is why his methods will live on for forever. I think he's desperately, he's helped me a lot. He's helped yourself and everything, and So of course you got the Meisner company and everything, as it is. As I said earlier, guys, if you want to get involved in any workshops, anything involved, go down below in the description, and then you go to meet Robyn in one of her 4 studios. And I didn't realize it was set up in your kitchen.
Yeah, it was. It all started in my kitchen. I was doing a show on West End, and a few people in the cast found out that I was Meisner trained and had been to the Neighbourhood Playhouse. And 10 years ago, man, you could not find a Meisner class in London to save your life. Like when I first moved here, I just couldn't find anywhere to keep my training up. And a few of the actors in the show, they were kind of they were more background artists that we had. And kind of fill up the crowd scenes, and they'd expressed that they were interested in training, and I was like, oh yeah, well, like I've been teaching for years. I started with 5-year-olds. I started straight out of drama school, and I was like, oh yeah, come around, and like I'll teach you like the basics, and started kind of with screen stuff, and I had maybe like 4 people in my kitchen, and then I was talking about Meisner so much, because Mike had been so instrumental, and then I was like, oh, I was like, look, I don't really know if I can teach it. I was like, Mike is so amazing, but I'll just try to do a little bit of Meisner with you. And then it kind of just started to be more repetition in my kitchen. And then these actors were like, oh, I've got a friend, and like, can my friend come? And I was like, yeah, like that's cool. And then suddenly one day I looked around and I had so many actors in my kitchen. They were like sitting on the floor, and I was like, well, this isn't very professional because I'm charging you for this class and you're like sitting on my kitchen floor. So I was like, oh, I better like go down to the local community center and go see if I can hire a room and give these poor people a chair. So I did that, and then it just kind of started snowballing from there. And I was working as a producer in post-production at the time. And then I was like, you know what? If like 4 more people come to this class, I might get like this kind of same amount. I could like probably live off this. This is like, all right. And then 4 more people started coming. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then it kind of just happened from there. So that, it all kind of just started in my kitchen. Look, I don't really know how to run a business. All I know is like how to teach. So I'll just kind of keep doing this until someone tells me to stop. Like things kind of keep happening, and I keep being like, all right, I'll just do this. But it's cool, man. It's like, it's really, I really dig the shit out of it, like I dig the shit out of this technique. I dig the shit out of my students. It's just really, I'm like incredibly lucky to do this.
But it's definitely snowballing. It's 120 students a week at the moment.
Actually up to 150 now.
150 now. Wow.
Yeah. So 8 classes a week, and then we have our drop-in center, which is just like open weekly Meisner classes for people who want to come and try it out. Brilliant. And then I'm off to Romania in a couple of weeks to teach there. I just got back from South Africa and taught there, and it's just kind of like I say, things keep happening, and I keep being like, all right, I'll just keep.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's go, man.
Let's keep going, man. Oh, it's amazing. Robyn, I could have you here for another 2 hours talking about Meisner and all this other thing, because, I love your passion for this subject and for his work and everything. We've definitely got to do another one of these in the future. We've got so many more things to discuss about it. I know we're a bit pushed for time, so I've only got 3 quick questions left for you. So the first one is, has there ever been a particular performance of like student or one of the guys in the films or on stage, whichever one it is, that that still sticks with you even today, that maybe they've used the Meisner technique or maybe not, but what's one performance that really still sticks with you today?
Oh, does it have to be one of my students, or can it be
And anybody, student, established actor, anybody.
it's it's probably like the first one that comes to mind is stuff that I see in my studio.
Okay.
And it's not just one, man. Like, there's only been a handful of times as a coach I've been moved to tears by my students.
Wow.
And yeah, and there was one particular incident where an actor who is self-confessed very very blocked and very very protective, very very guarded, yeah, just really just came to the forefront, man. Like, he was doing repetition, and this is somebody who you can tell he wants this so badly, but the fear was so palpable from him,
Mm.
'cause repetition can make you feel so vulnerable and so exposed. And that we'd probably been training for about 8 months at this stage. And man, the walls, like a sandcastle, just disintegrated. And there's a really good quote in The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, where he says, "You are a vessel for life to happen through." And I love that because that relates to all the relaxed stuff we're talking about, where like if you relax, then everything can just kind of move through you. And like the way he just moved through it, it was this like it was the greatest example of surrender. And man, I'm telling you, I'll put that on stage all day, every day, and watch that. I'll watch that all day, every day. The absolute honest, epicentral vulnerability. There was nowhere else to go for him. It was like either that or it was nothing. And it would have been so easy for him to be like, no, like not touching it, not going there. And it's not, I want to be clear, it's not recall, right? Like, we're not doing anything to do with like emotional memory or emotional recall. It's got nothing to do with that. It's with complete presence and complete surrender to experience what is happening between the two of you. It'll stick with me, man. Like, the bravery of that, I dined out on that for quite a while. I stayed up late thinking about that one. That was, and there's been multiple ones like that, but this dude in particular, I'll always remember him for that. It was cool. That was cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to see that.
Yeah, whole room changed.
See that now.
Right. Sick. Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, I need to see that now. We'll try and track him down so we can get him in for a workshop or something. If you watch it, wow, sounds like you did a great job, man.
I won't disclose those ideas.
Okay, cool. No worries. So I got two more questions left for you. So the final two questions for every guest. So first of all, what would you say was a bit of advice you wish you heard when you were starting out?
What's a bit of advice I wish I heard when I was starting out?
Yes.
You can't do this wrong. I wish I heard that. Can't do this wrong. It would have retained my sense of fearlessness. And Meisner says that you need two things for an acting career. You need faith and you need fearlessness. And I became deeply fearful. I wish I'd known that I couldn't do this wrong. Yeah.
I love that. That's brilliant. You can't do this wrong.
Can't do this wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That's brilliant. And finally today, what would you say has been an experience or experiences you've had in your career up to now that you'll never, ever forget?
The first one that comes to mind is we were talking about it before we started recording, my solo show that I took to Edinburgh. I've written quite a few plays in my time, And I really like what I write. You know, like I am a writer that writes stuff and I'm like, that's really funny. Like, that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
And I really liked my solo show. And granted, you know, it did very well. But I will never forget the first time I performed it. It wasn't the first showing, but the first time the lights came up at the end and people were on their feet and they were crying because it's kind of a sad show. And I'll never forget that. That kind of blew my mind. I always kind of like what I write, and I always think if I like it, then surely somebody else will like it. But I didn't think it would have that much of an effect on people. And that's just, I'm not really somebody who likes to talk a lot about like my like achievements, like quote unquote, like even with the company, like it's got nothing to do with me, man. It's got everything to do with the students. Like I'm just here to like get the best out of those guys, you know. And granted, a lot of them are doing incredibly well. Chris Chung, you know, he's done Slow Horses for 6 seasons now. Like, you know, a lot of them are doing great stuff. It's got nothing to do with me. But that's a little memory I always like think back on when I think of just something I wrote on my couch had that much of an effect on people.
Yeah.
That's like a really cool little moment to myself where I was like, oh, that's cool. I did good. Like I did real good. Yeah.
Definitely sounds like it. Yeah. That's one thing I wanted to talk about today, but obviously we're out of time now, but I want to talk more about that show. I think next time you're on here. And so what's the time? Yeah, we've got to finish up here. But Robyn, just thank you. Thank you so much for your time today and your passion for Meisner and this subject and the arts in general. It really has been a heartfelt privilege to listen to you today, and just thank you for being so open and sharing all your experiences. And yeah, it's been an absolute joy today hearing all this stuff. So thank you so much.
That's very kind. Thank you.
No, thank you. And we're going to continue this conversation at some point. So I've got so many more things for you. Your one-person show, your time in the Meisner School in New York, more discoveries, imagination, repetition, enjoying, and doing more delving into Stanislavski and stuff like that. But all that to come in the future. So stay tuned, guys. Definitely more to come from us. But in the meantime, so if you just hang on, I'll finish the recording. We'll have a tiny debrief afterwards, so then you can shoot off. But guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This has been the Uncensored Critic podcast. I'll be back very, very soon. And Robyn, you're incredible. Thank you.
Thanks, man.